You can read all the books on love that you want, but all those books, they won't come close to the love infused in Muhammad Rasulullah. We love our children and those around us by connecting them to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? In our own embodiment of following him. That's how love is transmitted in these moments, right? And these are just two small examples, subhanallah. So the question is that we may have taught our children La ilaha illallah in our tongues, but have we embodied Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to them in our actions? Right? We may have taught them La ilaha illallah, but how much have we actually embodied to them Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in our own actions, as parents, as mentors, as nurturers? Because that's how real love is preserved. You can read all the books on love that you want, but all those books, they won't come close to the love infused in Muhammad Rasulullah. They won't even come close to the love infused in Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it's not in our talks, but in our walks. Because when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked Anas radiallahu anhu to do something, and later on Anas is busy playing with his friends on the street, when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam sees him, he smiles and holds him and says nothing, right? It was a beautiful, nurturing moment where he didn't even have to say a word. It was all love, right? And imagine, subhanAllah, I speak to myself first and foremost, that can you imagine if you told your child to do something and then you see them on the street as if they don't care? And sometimes we call them out and we say things like, oh, shows how much you care. And that's even when they're not even doing it. Let alone sometimes when they do try, then we tell them, well, that wasn't even perfect enough, right? And we show them that we're not even content. So this brings us again back to ourselves, right? How are we modeling prophetic love to them in our actions? Right? We don't model prophetic love by, and I say this, I know it's heavy, but I feel like I need it and we all need it, not by slapping them with a hadith, right? May Allah forgive us. Because anyone can quote his words, but how many of us can model the character behind those words? Right? So before we quote his words, how much are we actually modeling his character? It's a question for all of us, myself first and foremost. And I remember one day when we were talking about the prophetic character, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I asked my older daughter, Tasneem, I said, think of someone in your life who you think of prophetic character when you think of them. And she thought long and hard. And then she mentions the name of an Egyptian uncle we had seen in Florida, maybe a handful of times. And I was, subhanAllah, just astonished. Out of everyone she could have mentioned, it's this man that she met just a handful of times. And I was wondering, I pulled her and I said, what is it about him? And she was telling me all these stories of how kind he was, how generous he was, how gentle he was, how giving he was. Right? So we need to put back Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam back into our shahada. Because we cannot love and transmit love without it. And the biggest disfavor we do to the ummah is to not embody his prophetic character and to not model Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in our actions. Because at the end of the day, that's how love is transmitted. It's through Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If Allah tells us we cannot even try to love Allah and get closer to his love without the following of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then how dare we try to transmit love to our kids without following the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Right? Like, who are we kidding?